wholeness and balanced vibrations, and thank you for joining me. You're tuning into Esoteric Radio's The Activated Body, and this is a show about the body, mind, and spirit. Today is Sunday, June 12th, 2011, and I am your host, Kayow Mune. We're all present today for a very informative show. This show is going to be an hour long, and I'll be bringing out a lot of information today about the purpose of activation. And because there's so much to share, there won't be any time to take today for your questions. But you can always send me an email on the Resistance website if you have any questions, and that's at www.resistance2010.com. Or you can post your questions on the forum announcing the show. Later on, we're going to be joined by Sevan, who's the developer of the Resistance website, also the author of The Code to the Matrix. And you'll find the free copy of this book on the website and on YouTube as well. So to begin today's show, I wanted to say the expression, we can't see the forest for the trees, meaning that we get so caught up with the details that we can't see the big picture. And today, it's about coming back to the original purpose, to understand the difference of the different energies that we're experiencing and how all this plays out in our lives. In our activation, we need to recall the original purpose of this contract being in this existence. We've become so caught up in the act of activation that we have lost sight of this original purpose. In our journey to get back into balance, what's the reason for that? Why are we restoring our health, our vitality? And we are in the process of remembering a truth long ago forgotten, which has become too mixed up in information and all this activity with the planet and all this psychic pollution in the atmosphere that we can no longer see or navigate ourselves. So today, I wanted to give everyone clarity. And we are here to learn to activate, to remember, to awaken, to become aware that we are energy, that we are energy. What is energy? The word itself comes from the Greek language, energia, and it means activity, operation. And it's a modern scientific word. Physics say it is a force that has to move through a length of space. Before this current word, energy, scientists used to call it, in the West they used to call it vis viva, which means in Latin, living force. In the Eastern understanding of this energy, in Sanskrit it's known as prana, chi in Chinese, ki in Japanese. In the ancient Taoism, the original force is known as wuchi, stillness, nothingness. This is where everything originated. It is also now called in the West dark matter, dark energy. This energy is everywhere. In the Taoist interpretation, there's only 4% that is the physical, material, atoms. The rest, the 96% is the force, wuchi, dark matter. This living force is connected to everything, and awareness of this will connect us as well. From the perspective of activation, why do we need to know this energy? Again, because we are energy. To activate means bringing awareness back to this original state. We are here to do all that is necessary to manifest this within the body. Activation is awakening our original state, energy. Now that we are in these bodies, we have senses to interpret external energies, and this interpretation is translated for us by the mind. Our comprehension expands the more experience we gain. From toddlers to adults, we are always experiencing energy. We are interpreting it. Constantly, we're in a constant state of exploration until, however, we start to experience what is interpreted in our reality as negative energy. Then fear manifests, and this holds us back from exploration. This keeps us from inner growth and it creates stagnation in our bodies, in our minds, and our spirit. Now I just want to get into what negative energy or how it manifests from the perspective of the body. And this negative energy from the perspective of the body can only be cultured in an acidic environment. So, these energies are hatred, fear, anger, resentment, worry, stress, inner conflict, negative thoughts, sugar, which is acidic, alcohol, which creates acidity in the body and damages the liver, drugs, which create an alkaloid state. It mimics alkalinity, and it gives people this feeling of being high. However, they will crash and create a low feeling within the body. And again, these drugs create acidity in the body. It keeps up the acidity. Chemicals in the air, in the environment, in our homes, on our bodies. Shallow breathing. And tap water. There are also positive energies. And these positive energies within the body are cultured in an alkaline environment. And this is what these energies represent in the body. The feelings that one feels is happiness, courage, virtue, hope, friendship, laughter, deep breathing, orgasm, green juice, chlorophyll, spring water from the source, medicinal herbs, which is different from the pharmaceutical drugs and the recreational drugs. I was going to mention love on this list. However, we need to know that this energy that we call love is associated with Jove from the planet Jupiter. And this is a being that has been influencing this planet for ages. And I feel inner guidance is telling me that we need to transcend this word. Rather than projecting love, we need to emanate it without giving it a name. Because once we resonate the energy of love, hatred, the opposite of the energy, is not too far away from it. And this can be done through creative energy, another form of energy, and I'll be explaining this later. There is also a neutral energy. And this is the energy all beings need to resonate with, this neutral energy, which is harmony, balance, centered state, oneness, compassion, stillness. To me, this neutral energy is akin to Wu Qi, to the inner Qi, the prana. Being in the center and gravitating towards the positive energies, we're best able to transmute the negative energy. Just like in an alkaline body, it is difficult to manifest disease in an alkaline body. This is also true for a being resonating the neutral, positive state of stillness. It will be difficult for this being to resonate negative energy within the body. We are born into this physical reality, and that all we're shown, experience, and learn, it does not serve our memory recall. This recall that we are energy. In fact, all external energies that we experience prevent us from having the opportunity to take back our power, to realize this truth. The lucky few connect with beings who hold this knowledge and they learn it on their own. There are few who learn it through other beings, or they would learn it on their own, but they would have to be away from society, from civilization, to acquire this knowledge. And when they share this knowledge with others, there are energies, external energies, that are going to be preventing these beings from aligning with the inner truth, to help others to align with the inner truth. And this is the reality that we live in. This is a planet that is in constant state of activity, of clashing energies, of domination, suppression of the human potential. I was made aware of this knowledge in my personal life, in my personal experience, when I was a child back home in Somalia. For many years, it's been a reference point for aligning my inner truth with the external truth. I found many paths since then, many teachers that wished me to join their energies, that they were the only way I would experience this truth again was through them, or through religion. I knew it was something that was innate, that everyone has. It cannot be given. No energy can prevent someone can prevent a being from experiencing this truth? We can only be distracted. So my state of being as a child was very convenient for this energy, which is me, to manifest into a vision. We lived a very simple life with my grandmother. We ate simply, and we were vegetarians, not by choice, but by income. There were modern homes and Western homes back then, but ours was a very simple home. It was very close to nature. And we were surrounded by nature on the inside and on the outside. Early in the mornings, I would sit before anyone rose and just listen within. And it was around this time that I experienced this truth. I became aware of infinity, of Wuchi, and that we are all interconnected, that my body would return to the earth, but my being, this energy, can never be destroyed. And ever since that day, my gaze always stayed inward. I wanted to align with other beings, other energies that understood this truth. And around those days, the closest that I came to the explanation of this experience was when I read the insight in the Tao Te Ching, the first insight many years ago. It was as if infinity was speaking to beings on this planet. And unfortunately, energies are always working to keep this truth from us. Yet this is what aligns us with the inner truth. And we need to learn to discern. We need to gain knowledge to be able to discern what is truth, but we need to align with inner truth first. So this is what was written in the first insight in the Tao Te Ching, and I'm just going to share this. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness. The gateway to all understanding. And this is the first insight in the Tao Te Ching that I felt aligned exactly with what I experienced when I was a child. And ever since then, I've been on what I call the pathless path, because one has to go within to experience this truth. And the resistance is a conscious space where a being can connect with others that are on the same path to return to this inner truth. Everyone there, I feel, resonates what I call the progenitor of the original energy. And now this is manifesting on our planet. So now getting back to activation. Everyone experiences it in a different way. Just as our fingertips are not the same, every experience of this truth is different. And activation is through direct experience. Innately, we're connected. But externally, our lives are different. Some will activate their kundalini. Others will activate their third eye. There will be some who activate the heart chakra or their crown. So many different ways for a person to understand this energy. That's all they're doing, is activating, becoming aware of this energy. And there are individuals who can see this energy called auras. Some can hear it through vibration or tone. There's some who can feel it within their being. See, there's more than to the senses than the five senses. But because of where we live, because of our society, we can only cultivate the five senses. But this will change. We are opening to higher energies, and this shift is being manifested in so many different ways. We see now in our world, people are banding together to get rid of old regimes, to make way for this new energy. Whether this is positive or negative, this is only relative to the situation. Everybody is answering this universal call, and depending on their inner spiritual growth, the navigation that they will take, the steps that they will take for this inner truth to align with the energy is going to be represented externally. So pretty much how they're cultivating within themselves, that's how far ahead they will get. Or they will become aligned with the negative energies. And negative and positive, like I said, this is all just polar. However, when someone is aligned with their inner truth, they align with everything, with the Wu Qi. And if one person hasn't transcended the religion that they were raised in, then that's the energy they will represent to align with this new energy of change that is taking place. This resonates with their truth, and this activates them. You see, we're always active. What differentiates us from one another is the energies that we align with. And when one aligns with the original force, they connect with everything. Even when we die, we gravitate to the energies that we spent the most time cultivating here on Earth. On the previous show, Sevan said last Sunday, he mentioned that when we die, we go to the planet or the being that we aligned with the most on our physical existence. We can only go where we expend the most energy on. And if we never kept expanding and held ourselves back, either through fear, and this prevented us from growing, from changing, from renewing ourselves, we just cycle again to eventually remember this truth on another plane, on another planet, on another body. We need to take the opportunity to do it now. We are here for this purpose. We have to do what we can to align with the inner truth. So, fear is a barrier. It's a block. Physically, mentally, and spiritually, it's a barrier. We fear everything. We fear change mostly. And fear can be defined as not wanting to change the routine one is familiar with, to not go outside the norm. And there are many energies that are always around us here to help us to learn our inner truth. And the body is part of that. Our body is the best teacher that we have. And this is really true. But because of fear, we hold our body from progressing to teach us this truth. When we were toddlers, when we were young children, we had no fear. We used our mouth like a science lab. Everything we saw, whether it crawled or if it was still, we would put it in our mouth to experience it, to interpret it. Taste was a form of education that we originally used. Before we learned to use our mouth to speak and understand the world, we used taste to navigate ourselves and experience reality, to deepen our growth. And this had a health benefit as well, because bacteria would go inside us, populating our gut. And when there was a bacteria that attached itself to our healthy cells, which created disease, our immunity would boost itself to take action. It would activate its defense system, known as macrophages and lymphocytes, which break down to B cells and T cells. And the last one, T cells, would take over and go after the antigens, the foreign substances in our body. It would bind to them. They communicate with all the other systems to respond to this specific antigen. After this experience, the body will create an antibody, and it will remember what was the action that was taken when it first came upon this foreign substance, to be ready again in the future. So the reason also why the body attacks anything foreign is because it does not recognize it as self. The body knows what it needs to keep growing, renewing, absorbing, and eliminating. Anything that does not resonate with the body, with the self, is considered foreign, and it needs to be destroyed. But the body has to experience everything in order for it to come to that conclusion. All energies have to experience, good or bad, to become sophisticated. So we have to go through everything in the physical plane. We can't shelter ourselves. And this is how the body learns to defend itself, to create immunity. So, spiritually, if we just hit ourselves in the cave all the time, we're not gaining anything. We have to be engaged constantly. The negative experience, the positive experience. So, back to being a child. When a baby is born, the mother transfers her antibodies to the baby by breastfeeding. And the first days of giving birth, there's a substance that the mother secretes called colostrum. And this is secreted rather than milk. It's known as first milk. It contains nutrients in a very low concentrated form. Within this milk is the mother's experience of her immune defense, or her antibody, and this will help protect the baby. I also feel this memory will go back in generations. And if you look at it from the level of spiritual sight, it's also transferring experiences of all the mothers, heading all the way back to the original force, to Wu Qi. So I know now people are thinking, okay, but I wasn't breastfed. How does this apply to me? Do not worry about that. Immunity needs to be activated through experience. And what person will do, now that they feel they have low immunity, they will restore themselves back to health. And if you haven't been breastfed, there's always, the earth mother's milk, which is what I call spring water. There's also chlorophyll. There's coconut water. And chlorophyll is like having a blood transfusion. It has the same molecular structure as hemoglobin. But chlorophyll has magnesium and hemoglobin has iron. Coconuts grow in the tall, tall trees, reaching all the way up towards the sun. And it's harnessing the energies of the universe. This is also colostrum, which contains a lot of information that we will need. And of course there's water. And now science is proving that water has memory, that water remembers. And this definitely will connect us to the original force. So for the child, each connection from being held, listening to the heartbeat, being carried by the mother, being touched, all these things are connecting the child to this energy, and it's interpreted by us as love. The child is made to feel secure and comfortable until it had its fill, and it wants to roam around and explore on its own. But a neglected child that is kept away from the parents, especially from the mother, who is not held or engaged or breastfed, will feel separate, secluded, and will have a lot of fear. They will not explore. It will yearn for the energy, but it will not have a clue, won't have a reference point where to start. And this desire, this feeling, this emptiness carries on to adulthood, and it turns into phobias, into unhealthy addictions, into sexual addictions even, to be constantly seeking this need to be nurtured, to be loved. And of course, this is when negative forces step in to further distract this being, to deter them from reaching the goal, the truth, that it is energy. How negative energy works also in childhood is through the parents. When the parents have not cultivated their memory recall, they are influenced also to prevent the offspring from having its chance to have a memory recall. Rather than allowing the child to explore, to get sick and recover, the parents feel they need to protect the child, so they create an artificial world free from bacteria and give it artificial medicine to believing that it's going to return the child back to its original state. But no, it only creates chronic illnesses like asthma, allergies, or undeveloped digestive system. The child then, when it's growing, isn't provided adequate nutrition on top of that, which further creates an imbalance. Now, the child will have to start seeing specialists to figure out why the child isn't developing as well. And then that's when they start to be labeled as, with attention deficit disorder. And then they become trapped in their homes. The parents are afraid to even let the child roam around outside. So they also add ADHD, which means now they're hyperactive. They have so much energy in their body, just have to run around. They don't know what to do with it. So it turns into negative energy within the child. It becomes disruptive behavior. And when the child grows up as an adult who has been forced to suppress this energy, it becomes an inner restlessness. And this being will never feel comfortable in their surrounding. They'll never feel grounded enough or focused. They will do anything to not be present in the moment that they exist in. And they will always have a feeling that there's something missing, that they're truly not happy, and that they don't sense this calming energy that they have within them. And it will never have the chance to manifest itself. Like I said, they're always being distracted. I also put a chart of how negative energy manifests in the organs. And it starts off as stress. And this will go and be stored in the liver. So you will add stress and anger. And then this will go towards the heart. And this will add hate, cruelty, and impatience in the heart. And then this will continue on to the stomach, which will create, impaired digestion. And then it will go towards the lungs, And that way the person will be able to take deep breaths. And this will create fear in the kidneys. All of this will create an imbalance. This one emotion, this one feeling, this one experience, stress, creates different manifestations in the organs, disrupting everything, disrupting the whole system. And what we have to do is we have to learn techniques to calm ourselves, to feel the stillness, this inner energy that we all have. And this is a choice a being has to make. This is not something that can be made for you. You have to choose to be present. You have to choose to unleash this inner energy, unleash the true being that you are. So, know this universe, all existence is always in a constant state of activation. You are activating. This is not something you have to do. You are already in it. So, this energy is interpreted as kinetic energy, which is moving energy. Or there's potential energy, how much energy it will take to move an object. Even if you believe yourself that you're not doing anything, you're still breathing. There's still a force within you, and this requires energy. Your body is building, breaking down, repairing, assimilating, secreting, digesting, absorbing, excreting. You're still doing something. You're still energy. But you need discipline, and you need to start a healthy routine and create an environment that will create this awareness within you, this memory recall. That's all you're doing. You are having a memory recall. Even now, we are in a form of a routine. We wake up the same time every morning. We go to bed the same place, eat the same food, speak the same language over and over again. The list can go on. And I feel, for me personally, in my inner growth, every time I learn a new language, I feel I have a new dimension I just added to my experience as a being. And it's not just the language. Every time there's a new knowledge, there is growth for the mind. There's growth for the spirit. And doing something different from the routine, it gives a person like a sense of adventure. And you get back to the original excitement of learning and exploring. This is the energy we need to cultivate when we're approaching activation. It needs to be an adventure. We need to become explorers. This is all energies regrouping, coming back to the original, to the Wu Qi, to the prana, to the Qi, to the original source. And we have to be focused and have excitement rather than come from a place of restlessness. And my insight is that we are already whole. Already the energy is just a memory lapse. We are already here in that energy. And that we've experienced this truth many, many, many times. We just keep having a memory relapse. We just keep forgetting. We can't do the recall. We have to be still, silent, calm, and whole, balanced, daily, to have this, to cultivate this memory recall, something that we're experiencing all the time. You can do this right now, this moment. And this is the practices that we align with externally to restore us back to this energy. And a practice, this is meditation, fasting, exercise, disciplining this body. This body is a vehicle. You need to exercise. You need to move. So you can do yoga. You can even do qigong. You can do many things. Deep breathing, aromatherapy, healing touch. Getting a massage even will help you realign. Consuming natural, whole, enzyme-rich foods full of vitamins and minerals. Detoxing the mind, the spirit, the body, always. Taking toxins out of the body and doing it through the skin by doing sauna. Heating up the body so we can sweating it out. And we need to cycle the energy. Once you activate this energy, you need to keep preserving it. Otherwise, it's going to get depleted. It's going to be taken away from you. And you can cycle this energy in so many practices. And the one that that's being posted all over the Resistant website is the Mantak Chia, which is a Taoist teacher who teaches how to use even orgasm, the sexual energy, to cycle energy. or just sitting and rubbing your belly, starting from the navel, being centered, finding your center to cycle energy. Even you can do this on a daily basis. And also, being without desire is the best state to be in. To not be looking towards the future all the time and to not be stuck in the past. Just be present, living in the moment of life. And there will come a point where a being will activate their energy, their chi, their prana, and will be able to transmute the negative energies and transmit energy to others. And this has been recorded in our history. And it's been titled Miracles by the beings who witness this, because they don't know how to do it themselves. But most have even there's people now doing it, creating miracles, but they're not aware of it. They're attaching it to a being, to other gods, rather than knowing that it's coming from self. So we need to become aware. And this is the direction that we're all heading towards, finding out that we are energy. And that all forces from the past, from the present, they are working hard to make sure that we don't figure this out. This is true. Therefore, we need to make sure and work even harder to attain this truth. Like I said before, we need to experience all energies. Just like we did as a child through our body, we experience everything to navigate ourselves. And without experience, we can't awaken. We need to feel this knowledge within our being. So let me talk about the different types of cycling the energy. And one type of cycling energy that I really enjoy is to work from creative energy. And this energy always builds more and more and more upon itself. And I was telling you before, rather than resonating love, because the opposite of love is hate, that will be right there, waiting for you. Resonate creative energy. And from this, you become aware of all the negative energies. You will know what to do and how it affects your body. Plus, when you activate, everything becomes amplified. When you detox even, all your senses become heightened. Your sense of smell, your sense of taste, your skin, you become irritated. And people believe this to be something that is wrong. It's actually you're coming back to your original state. And your body, the immunity is active. It's awake. It's not bombarded. It's not filled with so much to do anymore. Now it's ready. It's ready to defend. So whenever you smell something chemical, you sneeze. Before it would have just become a chronic thing. You wouldn't have known about it. But now you know right away. You sneeze and your mind tells you, oh, it's that spray that created that effect. You will know what to do. Another way of cycling energy is to become aware of one of the most destructive energies, and that's the emotional energy. It's very positive when it's, the energy of happiness and joy, but the negative aspect of the emotional energy is very destructive for the body. It drains the body. So this energy needs to be guarded, and you have to stay highly alkaline to keep this practice up. It's very easy for someone to be reactive when they're acidic, to be influenced by the emotional energy when they're in an acidic environment, acidic state in their body. So we need to practice breathing, exercise, consuming healing foods. So this energy of emotional energy, the negative aspect of it, it will not manifest in an alkaline body. Also, sexual energy, when used in activation, is the most powerful for both charging the body and healing the organs, creating cellular regeneration. But when it's out of balance, when it's suppressed, when it becomes an external addiction, it drains the body. It creates imbalance in the centers, the energy centers, and this will take a while to restore it back. So, like I said, Mantak Chia has really great meditations, and it's all posted, and I also posted it on the forum announcing the show. There's the book Healing Energy Through Love, and then there's also Multi-Orgasmic Man, and there's also a post with videos where he's showing you in his videos the type of meditations to do, like inner smile and abdominal circling exercises. Also, what one can do to find their center again. And it's really easy to see it even in our body. You know, it's so simple sometimes how the universe wants us to remember our center, that it's actually our belly button. Every time you feel like you're not centered, just touch your belly button and breathe into it. Really be present and go within. Pull all your senses into your center. Put both your left and right hand, your fingers into your belly button and just breathe into it. Really push out your fingers and breathe back into your center. And this will take you inwards and bring you back into balance. Another important thing is our mineral balance. Mineral is a substance that cannot be created in our body, like vitamins and the phytonutrients. These can be created. But minerals, we have to source that from food. It has to come from the earth, from the ground. And when there's an imbalance of minerals in the body, it's going to be the perfect environment for disease to start. And minerals work along with vitamins. Everything works within our body hand in hand. You need one for the other. Just as oxygen is the most abundant element in our bodies, it's the same abundance on Earth. We're minerally in sync with the Earth. And when a body is burned after death, all that remains is mineral ash. So what is from the Earth will return to the Earth. And that's why I'm really excited about the biochemical cell salts that contain the minerals the body needs to restore health, giving us back the boost in our immunity. And this is for beings that feel they are so depleted, so exhausted, their adrenals are exhausted, that for them to push themselves to start cultivating a new routine, they need a little help. Help is here. Try the supplements route. And this will give you a reference point. There's also influences in our energy body from the external. We have influences from the planets. We have influences from the weather. So many influences everywhere. And that's why we have to remember to come into our core, to our center, to our navel, to bring us back to presence. To not be influenced by these influences. As long as we figure out the center point, we cannot be carried by this external energy. How can you? You're in your place of strength. You're in your core. When the energies are most active, we need to practice meditation to feel stillness. We will not be moved by these energies. And again, external help is always there. If someone feels like they don't have a reference point, they haven't experienced the stillness ever in their life, then you can also go on the nutrient section in the Resistance website and look for SEMD and Agar 35. And these are supplements that were created by Tibetans, which they, have reference for. It's a culture that's, been cultivating for eons for meditation. They know the body is when it's very toxic, it's hard for a person, from a place of toxicity to know how to meditate. You're just so agitated. You can't be still. You can't sit still. And I've had these experiences myself. So we need these external supplements to help us, give us the reference point. But this is not something you'll become addicted to. Eventually, you will know how to have this stillness on your own. Everybody needs to start somewhere and use this external assistance. We all have to think in that level now. And back to creative energy. This, I feel, is the energy that aligns us highly with activation. And when one works from a place of creative energy, you will feel stillness, infinite. The true alignment will happen. In our current reality, our creative energy is sabotaged, suppressed, exploited. It's ignored. And we're just exhausted. When we do anything, we do it with half a heart. We don't do it with our full heart. We don't do it with our fullness, with our being. So we have to cultivate our creative energy. And this is an abundant energy. It's never ending. Even a simple task as making a beautiful whole meal for a family, for a community, for other beings that need to feel this energy will manifest so much power within a person. And others will look at you when you do this and say, this person works with the energy of love. That's what they will say. That's how it looks like to them. Love is what's fueling them to do this. But you know within you that is not true. Because if you did it with love, the external negative energy will sabotage this from you. And eventually you'll start to hate what you're doing. It'll influence your work. So as long as you work from a place of infinite stillness, from infinite creative energy, and be of service to others, be here to serve. When you say, I am here to serve, there is a whole other energies that align with you, that will assist you in your service. And you will manifest your creative energy. And you will be connected. Always, you will come back and remember, come back in alignment with your inner Wuchi, your energy, your prana. That is activation. So, it's now 18 minutes remaining in the show. I'm going to be bringing in Sevan. He's been patiently waiting. So I'm just going to check to see if he's available. So just give me one moment. Wholeness 7, are you there?
Yes, wholeness to everyone. I actually was just really tuning into the show, and my clock says exactly 11:11, and I really just wanted to. I'm not sure if everyone's if you're actually hearing me okay, but I really just wanted to say if you wanted to finish off this 18 minutes with your notes there, I didn't know if you've spanned through everything, but man,
yeah.
It was just really much that could really be added into that because it's just transmitted so perfectly.
Yes, you said 11:11. My clock says 12:12 just as soon as I got you in. But yeah, I'm actually done. I've been, for the last few weeks, I've just been fasting and detoxing, and I just felt that there is so much confusion that we need to come back to the original purpose. And this is what I feel I aligned with last night, and I was writing all this out, and I wanted to share with the audience today. So I'm actually complete. End of transmission.
Oh, okay. I was looking at. It's funny you say that because I was looking at a actual post or a book that I just recently posted, and there's a transmission coming from space, and every time they're done, they say stop. And that way, like almost like talking through a CD, the person knows that, okay, I've done with that part of the transmission. And then the final part is transmission or signal ended. And I could definitely say that was one of those signals. And it just comes at a perfect time because there's so much stuff that I'm discovering, and there's so many things that I feel inside, and sometimes I definitely have a hard time translating that into just anything that people can understand sometimes. But I feel like personally, especially this show today, was one of those shows that a person can just sit and really, really listen to the higher beings of this planetary system, this galaxy, telling us, okay, this is what you need to do to get out, if you're ready. And I could totally see this from what I've basically been seeing on the higher planes for the last 2 days, is something for many people, because many people have different stories, but for a large group of people, this is their training module. This is something their parents agreed to send them into because of their laziness, for better lack of words. If you want complete pleasure and total pleasure all the time, if you want just to have everything for yourself, if you just want that kind of behavior, this planet will show you over a period of time how that is really not the correct way to be. It's only just one way to be. And if you want to be universal, like a guy said to me the other day, he said, well, it sounds like what you're saying is I just wanted to tell you recently, some of the stuff you're saying is dualistic. How is that wholeness? And I said, listen, man, wholeness is everything. It requires that any situation that approaches you, that you're able to deal with it from a balanced space because you know exactly what you're dealing with. And that's also what becomes more important when you're really doing spiritual work, activation, serving, healing, etc., is to know exactly what you're dealing with. That way, like a doctor, if he goes in and he doesn't know what's really going on with the patient and he misdiagnoses the patient, then he could even kill the patient. And so that is a big part of this activation level, since we're dealing with spirituality, is understanding exactly what kind of spirits you're dealing with and what's really happening here on the planet. And next week, I'm personally lining myself up to get ready to do a complete disclosure of what I've discovered since I began the spiritual path as a child and my conclusion from all the information that I've received up until this point. And I think that's going to be very important, especially now in this particular time and era that we're in, because it's really showing us it's a completion phase. We have a chance to graduate here, or we have a chance to be recycled here. It's just going to be about which one that we show that we want to do, not we say we want to do, etc. It's going to be about a person's personal actions determining where they end up, which is kind of what we talked about on the last show. And there are so many beings, everything is in service. So to what force and to what nature of things is what is to be determined. For the record, I have discovered that being in places like Costa Rica that are full of vegetation, what you're dealing with generally is the forces of nature acting upon the people. Whether that's going to be in a positive or negative way, nature determines which one you need. So if it's nourishment and things like that, just like your fruits and vegetables, they are in service to give you that nourishment. If it's negativity and things of that nature, then even the storms and the lightning and different things of that are in service to take care of that nature. What ended up happening a long time ago is an architect, you can give it that word exactly, decided to build another network that didn't have anything to do with nature but had everything to do with electronics and machines to attempt to accomplish the same thing that nature was doing. But nature has many different facilities that it plays in. Nature actually does consume. Nature does give energy. So there's a whole array of things that can't be summed up by a person simple. Is it positive or is it negative? Is it for me? All of those are still your training and your cycles. What's going on in the grander design is that nature can service all things. So what happened was a Tron-like world was erected. And I can explain to people now very clearly that in entering cities that are, constructed out of metals, very dense objects, concrete, like concrete, if anyone understands the knowledge that came out of Crete originally. But the fact is that the erected is when you leave out of your body, you're rising. And as you rise, you enter into these different fields. And the highest fields, of course, understanding, etc. And then the lower fields are full of the negativity and things that we're calling density. And this all determines by what state you're in before you go to sleep or before you go into this meditation. So generally, because most people are in the root chakra, their spirit can only rise to a certain figure.
Sorry to interrupt, Sevan. The connection is breaking. I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, okay. Let me attempt to. If you could take it for 2 minutes, I'm going to attempt to go and just get right by the router real quick so I can finish. But
actually,
I'm glad that you.
Yeah, and I have something to say about that. Being stuck in the root chakra, and I know from the perspective of the body, if the body is congested, especially the colon. I remember being in meditation and I had that same question. How is it that we're always stuck in the root chakra? A lot of beings are resonating from their root chakra. They're not thinking from the level of the higher energies. And the answer that I received from within was that is because they are blocked, meaning the colon is impacted, and the person has to, that's why we need to do fasting and detoxing and doing colon cleanses. From this, I'm just saying from the level of the body. And maybe someone needs to do energy healing of that chakra itself. And they can do it on themselves or they can seek external healing. But the one thing that I know for sure, and even from personal experience, my own, is that once I started, going away from eating animal flesh and eating more consciously eating food that have more energy, have that enzymes that are rich full of enzymes and minerals that are actually helping my body, healing my body, rather than hindering it and slowing it down. This is what helps us to get to the higher energies. The body, the body's a vehicle. It's a vehicle, so we need to keep this vehicle clean. Just like we clean our car, we need to clean this body.
Exactly, and my connection should be a lot better because I'm in an area that it seems like I have more connection.
Okay.
But I am also outside, so basically what's been happening is that hold on, the animals out here are kind of acting crazy since I came outside. But basically what's been happening is we've discovered everything. It's just going to take a minute for us to translate this to everyone in the different ways in which people can really understand it. But the fact is that when you get immersed into root-based reality all the time, a root chakra-based reality, then it pretty much becomes to where a person in their dream world is not even having the relief of going into the higher planes, because you always do have to come back to this world at some point to share. But what ends up happening is because these electromagnetic realities are created one layer above or right where we would go if we were root chakra based, a person is generally programmed while they're asleep to actually go into a reality that's wholly generated that they can tap into. And I call this like more or less a mass effect field. And what a mass effect field is, aura or a sphere of actual influence. And that influence basically, it's more or less, there are many different workers. Like I said, everyone is active. It's about what they're activated into. And basically what happens is that, I'm going to try to explain this in a more simpler way without, getting distracted. But there's been a whole slew of distractions since this whole thing began. There is really a part of being in the know that I would say personally that I didn't come into till about 3 days ago. And then at that point, when there's like a whole different thing that goes on, mainly a large amount of communication. Just not negative or positive, but just communication. Everything is attempting to talk to you. Everything is attempting to move around really fast around you. And all you want to do is kind of be still so that you can actually tap into this higher plane. So basically you see that on this lower dimension that we're on, things are moving so fast and people are so fidgety or agitated, just like you were saying in the show. They're completely acidic. And so they're moving around and things so much that they never get a clear transmission before they switch another channel. And not to mention, this kind of level of communication has really nothing to do with the higher planes, meaning that the higher planes level of communication is not through what we're calling thought and us thinking about it and things like that. It actually comes through a whole different visual spectrum. So basically I found that the body was full of eyes, and that you had an opportunity certain eyes were closed and certain eyes were open. And on each of those eyes, the iris was like a keyhole. And the irises were different shapes, obviously corresponding to different beings, from animals to plants to insects, etc. And that these gates inside of our body are more like, instead of the 7 chakras that we're talking about, each being an eyeball with a key to it that gives you insight into another level of perception. Now, this planet, from the time a person takes a breath in and takes a breath out, is a symbiotic planet. It actually does pull energy and give energy, and that's what that major part is on Celestine Prophecy, where the guy says, make sure you give the energy back. It'll come back, we promise. Basically, trying to tell people once you hit this higher state, don't be afraid of losing that power and energy. Breathe it back out into the reality, into what you know is positive and congruent with what you're doing. Because also the people who practice the negativity, they do the same thing. They breathe out their negativity into the being that takes that energy into where it needs to go also. So you see this whole system, but you have an opportunity to use it as a school to decide where you're going to end up in the universe. And there's a very large part of this reality that's really based on the essence that comes from these plants and the different things that we're we're around, it also breathes out. And just as you see the relationship between plants and humans, that the human breathes out the oxygen, the plant breathes out carbon dioxide, it shows you the difference in that kind of being. But that's just the plant. The plants don't just breathe out carbon dioxide. They also breathe out other vapors that there are certain plants that you can't even take in their vapors without it altering and changing your perception. So a major part of how this reality is constructed is through the pheromones that come from plants and the frequencies that keep us wholly here, meaning that there's still a lot that's really solid about this environment, and people want to know, well, why is this thing so solid? It's because there's a constant transmission or interaction between your body and it to keep it solid. And I want to talk about just very briefly, because I know it looks like we've got about 5 more minutes in the show, and if even that. Moon, how much time do we really have left?
It's actually 3 minutes.
Okay, so great. That's enough time. I really wanted to let people know that basically what I discovered was that the hidden symbol that they have within many of the mystery schools, including Masonry, is of the tree, the acacia, which is ACACIA. And this plant was held in the ancient knowledge just to be, because it makes gum Arabic, which is what we make gum out of. It's to be basically the symbol of the immortal soul of something, meaning that the reason why we can keep chewing gum, and it never goes anywhere is because of property from the acacia tree. I found out within 3 days ago that the element DMT is actually conscribed from the acacia tree. If anyone just Googles DMT, they'll see that it's made from the acacia tree. So understanding that basically what these alchemists were doing, for anyone that has ever had a DMT experience, is that they had already been very perceptive of the other realm, because they were using more or less a cheat, a way to open up your eyes right away and make you perceptive of what's exactly going on around you, just like the glasses that are on the movie They Live. But the interesting part about this is that because this had been a realm that was already explored for a long time, there were, according to your spiritual growth, levels of what you will perceive while open up to this spirit molecule. And so basically what we're going to do next week is we're going to talk about these different levels, or veils as I call them. We're going to remove some of these veils and show people exactly what's here, why they're here. And like I said, I would just encourage everyone to look at today's show and to read today's show again to get your body together, because everything is about, it's just like the UFO ship. They always say that the person's mind guides the ship to where it goes. The ship is just responsible for getting you there. It's very important that your mental stability before travel, which is really why many people have not made travel, is correct, or you can only go to certain places. So that's why, or if anywhere. And so that's why we're encouraging people to get themselves in balance, understand the meditation or reference point of being calm, etc. And so I'm just going to let Mune close out the show. We probably got 1 more minute left. I want to thank her for taking her time and to investigate all the things that she's brought to us today, and to hold some balanced vibration to everyone at the Resistance and also guests.
Thank you so much, Sevan. It was really good connecting with you, and again, it was really good connecting with everyone, and I thank everyone for being present. And really, activation needs to be the focus of your life every day. It needs not be in the background. It needs to be in the foreground and right in front of you. And it's all about alignment. So always, we are here, we are present, we are always connected. Always here, present, connected, to bring us back to wholeness and balanced vibrations. Have a great day, everyone.